Thank y'all for joining us today. My name is Jessica Worthington. I'm the director of the Office of Downtown Development, and this is Third Thursday. So for anybody who's new or a first timer, we do this meeting the third Thursday of the month, once a month. We started this during the pandemic as a way to stay connected and integrated and be able to share what's going on with our office, and also to be able to hear from you guys on a monthly basis and not have to like wait till a conference when we could all see each other and hang out. And we've kept it going, and so we plan on keeping it going for the foreseeable future. But we appreciate y'all being here and joining us today. With me on our team, we have Elizabeth Elliott, our Downtown Development and Historic Preservation Planner. We have Ellen Hill, our Main Street Compliance and Training Coordinator. We have Ebony Simpson, our Strategic Planning Coordinator. I'm like, I can't remember, Ebony, what we decided to call you. We just call her our sunshine because you can see that smile. She's just always happy. And then I don't think Tess is on with us this morning. And then we've got some regional staff. So Corin Thornton, Director of DCA's Regional Services. And I was trying to scroll through to see if I saw anybody else.
I think Jennifer Fordham is on.
Yeah, Jennifer Fordham from representing the coastal communities. Glad to have you. Before we get started, do me a little bit of a favor. If you guys haven't done so already, when you hover over your own little picture, there's a couple little dots that pop up at the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on that, it'll allow you to rename yourself. And so rename yourself and add your community there, because we've got new faces and new people. And so it just, again, helps us connect and see who everybody is, and then also be able to that way when we see each other in person again, I mean, we all need to carry around something that looks like this to, because that's how we always see each other. But again, allows us to be like, oh, I've seen that person before and they're with this community, to make those connections. So just do that for me real quick. Typically I take a little bit more time in the beginning and we kind of go through and introduce some new people and stuff like that. One of the things I'm going to do, because I know she's on a time crunch, is I'm going to pass this over to April Norton. She is the Georgia Downtown Association's current president. And I want to give her a few minutes to do a plug for the upcoming conference that's happening next month, because I know she has to hop off at like 10:15.
Thank you, Jessica. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We are so thankful for the partnership that GDA has with DCA. It's one of our biggest partners. And so thank you for the time to be able to talk about conference. I hope everyone on this call is registered. If you are not, you have to register before August 8th. That's the deadline, or you'll have to register on site at conference, and there's a $50 registration processing fee for that. So everything is uploaded to the website. If you go to Georgia Downtown Association's website, you can register online. Conference is next month. It's crazy, but it's August 22nd through the 25th. And we have such a great opportunity this year in making that we have probably the most training accessible to you in person than we've had in a long time. So on the start of our conference, you can do advanced DDA training, you can do basic DDA training, and also our Main Street 101 training. We've been very fortunate to have these opportunities through an online platform, very virtual process, which we've all become very familiar with, but you can't underestimate the value of training in person and having that one-on-one interaction. So I encourage you, if you have not had any of those trainings, to go ahead and register for that as you're registering for conference. And then in the closing of conference, we have historic preservation training, which is certified training for your historic preservation. And any of us in downtown development, we're going to our historic preservation meetings, and being part of preserving and restoring our downtown historic character. So lots of training opportunities. We are excited to be in Macon, and I can't see everybody on the call, but I'm sure Emily is on and can really speak to, and just very thankful for all of the opportunities that they are doing to be able to provide for us. It is a jam-packed schedule. You can have time to really explore Macon for sure. There's a lot of that in there too, but jam-packed opportunities throughout the whole week. So hope to see all of your faces at conference.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April. And April hit on a really important thing, that not only is the conference there for you and having access to these incredible training opportunities, but there's also the opportunity to do some of the things live and in person that we haven't had that opportunity to do over the past few years because of the pandemic and for other reasons. So Main Street 101 is going to be offered live and in person. The DDA basic and advanced trainings will also be offered live and in person. And this is in addition to the conference. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things you can go and get a lot done back to back. And our Historic Preservation Commission training also will be offered again. I think theirs is on the back end, if I remember correctly, right, Ellen? So
it'll be on Thursday.
Exactly. So again, these are, especially like with the HPC training and the DDA stuff and the Main Street 101, these are all things that have not regularly over the past couple of years been offered in person. So to be able to have these opportunities to tap into it, if you have folks that are on your boards that are just not fans of virtual training experiences, I get it. We're all a little burnt out on the virtual training platform kind of stuff. But this is your opportunity again to be able to come hear about these things and also network, right? Get to meet with people from other communities. And for us, the GDA, their platform with GMA are the ones you register all through there, right? So nothing's individual registration as far as like you're not going through us or Carl Benson or anybody individually. Everything is flowing through that one platform. So it's a one-stop shop to sign up for everything. And I can't speak to all the other classes. I'm sure there are limits and capacities to be considered for us. In our Main Street 101. It'll take place in the afternoon on that Monday. And we do have limited capacity for a couple of reasons. A, the location, but also B, because we want to have intimate enough experience that we can have conversations, that we can ask and answer questions, that we can really engage with the folks that are there. I think half the value of being able to do it in person is to be able to have those components, right? So you're not just a number. So I know that we were having people signing up. I'm not sure where our numbers are right now, but if you've been on the fence or kind of just waiting to do that, I would highly encourage you to get on that sooner rather than later. We will not be offering another one in person this year. I'm hoping that in the future we will offer one in person, and that will be at the conference every year. That's kind of like our tentative air quotes plan for right now. But that's what we've got on the the agenda. And also it'll also be our first time rolling out and teaching the switch to 6, so the new 6 standards. So Elizabeth and I had a discussion. We're like, this is the first time we're doing this in person in a while. Do we teach the 10 or do we just move forward and start teaching the 6? And it's going to kind of be our trial run for that, right? So teaching the new 6 standards. So again, if you're excited to learn about them, don't worry, we will give y'all plenty of opportunities to learn about the 6 standards. We're going to get you taken care of on that end. So don't just sign up for it for that component. Sign up for it if you actually need it to meet this training requirement. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else, April, we need to hit on before we move on?
I was going to say, just think outside of your staff or your team, and think about like your boards and your city council, because it's required for them to attend this training, for our accreditations. And so this is a great opportunity for them to see a bigger picture of what you are doing for your community. And so use this as an opportunity to get them there in person for training, for any of those who haven't already completed it, and encourage them to stay for some of the training classes that happen that week, because I do feel like that will open eyes to really what we're doing day in and day out. Those of you, we're all feet on the ground, boots on the ground every day, and it allows them to really see what you're doing.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And I think it's also easier for you as managers and staff to have us be talking about the importance of some of these things and the value, besides you just feeling like you're coming home and preaching preaching to the choir and preaching to the folks you have to work with. Let us advocate on your behalf. And wow, that was almost really Southern, your behalf.
Been hanging around me too long, Jessica.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, April is officially rubbing off on me. She knows I love me some Thomasville. So.
Well, thank you. And thank you to our whole DCA team, and to our Georgia Downtown Association Board of Directors too, that planned this amazing conference, and our GMA team.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. So with that being said, we're going to move on. We have so much to cover today, and Elizabeth and I have a hard stop at I would say like 10:55 probably for us, even though Ellen and Ebony and Tess will stick around afterwards. But we have to hop off, and we have some important and exciting things we want to share. So before we do that, though, I know that we do have some new faces and first-time folks. So I'd love for y'all to just say hi, tell us who you are, how long you've been here. If you're, because we have a lot of people on today, and I can't see everybody on my screen, you can use your raise your hand function. If you're not sure where that is and you're on a desktop, if you scroll to the bottom, typically, there's a little thing that says reactions with like a smiley face emoji. If you click on that, there'll be a little button that says raise hand, and that'll put you up and in front to the top of the screen, so that way I can see see who's here and who's new, and who wants to be heard. So Barbie, I see you've got your hand raised.
Good morning. I wanted to introduce Lily Hamilton. She is coming on board and is transitioning into my role. I'm moving into a different role with the DLDA. So anyway, just wanted to introduce everybody to Lily. This is her first time to be on the Zoom call and hear everybody, meet everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and excited to meet everybody. I've been here for about a month and a half now. I'm just part-time for now until, I transition into her role full-time, but I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed learning everything. I'm doing the Main Street program online right now. And I've learned a lot.
Awesome. Great. That's so great. Glad to have you. Barbie, what are you transitioning into? Like, what's
so
the role?
We've got a historic property in downtown LaGrange. It was formerly the home of the Mansour family. So it's a beautiful 1914 home that was designed by the architect that built the Fox Theater. So it's gorgeous. And we've had a couple of investors go in, and they are turning it into a special event venue. Second floor will have 4 5-star quality suites that can be rented for people to spend the night. And then they're also building some condominiums on the back side of the property. So I'll be managing the special events and the suites that are there. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it is a gorgeous home, and I was personal friends with the Mansour family. So I just feel like it's a way to continue their legacy in a little way too.
That's awesome. Yeah, that family is, if you're in the West Georgia area, that family name is is very well known. So that's very cool. Thank you for sharing that, and welcome, Lily. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Jesse.
So I'm not necessarily new. This is my first time on this call because I'm sitting in for Abigail.
Yeah.
today
that
because
counts.
today is her birthday. She has the day off. So I just wanted to say if y'all wanted to reach out to her and tell her happy birthday, then of course do that. So
Oh, love that. Well, we're glad to have you, and you come back anytime, even with Abigail. Okay, Jesse? And then Ginger, I see.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Ginger Melton, and I'm the new Main Street Manager for the City of College Park. And I have been here about a little over a month now. So I'm still learning, and I'll be at the Macon Conference. So I look forward to that, meeting everyone and learning more. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you.
Glad to have you. And Belinda, I just have to ask because I saw Nicole in your background and I was like, wait, what is happening right now?
Double trouble. Hey. So she's here to visit Canton today with our mentor-mentee program. And so it was the perfect opportunity. She got here just in time so she could sit in and we could do this together. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. It actually took me a second. I was like, wait, what is
Split
happening
screen,
right
right here. Here it is, split screen, yeah.
I was like, there's fun happening and I wasn't invited and I'm having major FOMO. And Shannon, you have news, right?
Yes.
Are we talking about your news? Like,
We can.
okay.
Tomorrow is my last day with the city of Villa Rica, and on August 1st, I will be moving to the city of Dallas as their first ever Main Street manager.
Woohoo.
Super excited. Dallas is my hometown. It's what I know and it's what I love. So I'm really excited. I'm not moving there, but it's really cool to be back home.
You'll be closer to me.
I'm
it's super
happy and I'm sad. I'm happy and I'm sad.
Oh, I totally
Like-
get it.
It's like your child leaving the nest. You know, you gotta hand her off.
Yep. And it's exciting because they've been, Dallas has been in the startup process and has been going through that. So for us to see it from like multiple sides, as far as like their progress just as a community and then Shannon's progress and her professional journey, it's interesting to see all this come together, and it's
Agreed.
we're so excited for you. So
Thank you so much.
And Heather from Griffin, have we done introductions with you before on a third Thursday? I can't remember.
No, this is my first time on this call. I think I was out of town last month. But I started in May. I'm the new economic development coordinator for the city of Griffin. And actually Jeremy Stratton's on the call too. I don't know if you can see him, but he's on here too. He's our new director. I'll let him jump on and say hey. But hey y'all, I'm super excited to be here. And hopefully I get to meet lots of y'all in Macon at the conference.
Thank you. Thank you both. Anybody else that wants to say hi before we move on? Jeremy?
Hey, I'm Jeremy Stratton, Economic Development Director here for the City of Griffin. I've been here 2 months and looking forward to working with you and with Heather getting us back on track.
Yep, so excited. They got a lot going on in Griffin. We were just there the other day hanging out. So yep, love it. You guys are rocking and rolling. All right, so let me see. I talked about 101 in person. Oh, the other thing I want to dive into before I get into the really fun stuff today is the beta test. So we have launched the application for what we're calling the beta test, the beta launch for the switch to 6 from the 10 national standards to the 6 standards. And there is basically an opt-in period. So you have 1 month, the month of July, to decide if you want to opt in to working under the new 6 standards for this next upcoming assessment cycle. So the reality is everybody is going to have to be operating under these standards for the year 2024. So like when we do our assessments in January 2024, that means for the year 2023, you will have been using these new 6 standards to organize your program, and you'll be using that as part of the assessment process. We have been working night and day to be getting this stuff ready. This has been about honestly 6 years in the making, Elizabeth. I mean, it's not just on our end, but from the national perspective. Years, and I mean literally years in the making. And so what we have been doing is Georgifying everything. We had, you know, a very strong hand in the process, but it's like anything, Georgia has its own language that we use, and we wanted to make sure that when you were looking at documents, you read it and it felt true and authentic to us and the things that we say and do. And so we have been Georgifying those documents. And originally we had a couple of y'all reach out to us and say, hey, if you need help with this, we would love to be a part of that process. And so we were going to, you know, kind of hand select a few people. And then we had the discussion as a team and we were like, hey, I mean, if more people want to participate and help us through this process and figuring out the, you know, the tweaks and the things that need to happen, why not, right? So we are opening that up to anybody that is in good standing that wants to participate and go through it with us. Ellen has dropped in the chat the link to sign up if you are interested in opting in. The reason that we have kind of like a start and stop deadline for that is because the process is a little bit different than what it is currently. And so as a team, we need to know who we're teaching new stuff to and who is doing it under kind of like the current system. And that is purely just so we can keep track of everything and make sure that we're doing this in an organized way. And so my thing is, if you've been on the fence and you're not sure if you want to do it or not, here's my little pitch to why I would love you to do it. If you're in good standing and if you feel, you know, like you might want to do this, but you haven't quite signed up. So A is, we are doing this in partnership with you, right? We are not looking to kick anybody out, fail anybody, move anybody down a designation. We need your feedback. We need to know what about this process you like, what about this process may be a sticking point that we can either help you with in the future or do better and teach better. And we also need to know, is this serving you the way that the process has served you in the past, right? So like, is this helping? Is something hurting? Is there a sticking point? So this is not just like us learning how to teach the new stuff and communicate it, but it's also feedback from you guys, right? So by opting into this, basically you're saying, hey, we get that not everything is 100% solidified. We get that not everything has been figured out 100%, but we're in this journey with you, right? And it is an act of trust. This is like the trust fall. You know, you are jumping and trusting that Georgia Main Street is going to catch you. And what I'm telling you is, we're down here. We're going to catch you. We're not going to let you fail. That's not the design, the purpose, the reasoning behind any of that, you know. But our thing is like, we know that we're not going to be able to figure out some of the like pressure points until we actually go through it, right? We just know that. So by having people who understand that journey with us and who are willing to do that and help us figure this out now, sooner rather than later, for us, that's huge. And again, you're also helping the other programs in the future and also other people who may not feel comfortable doing that right now. And so the way it'll work is that, you know, if you opt in now, we will do specific trainings for you on the new materials. We will walk you through them. We will discuss them in detail. We will answer questions. We will be setting it up in a way that will mirror trainings that we'll be doing for everybody else in the future. So that way, again, this is like a dry run for us to practice being able to communicate that, pitch that, teach it. And then when you turn in your annual assessment in January of 2023, so this January coming up, you will be operating under these new 6 standards. Again, we know you haven't had a whole year to be looking at this and to be functioning this way. We get that. Again, this is really just a learning experience for everybody. So that's why also we're like, you know, we are being a little bit picky as far as like, we want to make sure that you're not having other program challenges and stuff like that. We want to make sure that you're in good standing. We want to make sure that, like, you know, you are choosing to do this because you want to understand it and you want to help us, but, you know, we're not forcing anybody to do this right now. And I will also do a pitch that we are going to be in South Georgia next January, February for the assessments, for the in-person presentations. So I highly would encourage you, if you are if you are in those kind of regions, so it's like regions 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all basically if you're like Macon South, right? And Columbus over there, that we will be meeting with you in person next year. And so, again, those are people too, I would really love to consider, because we can role play what that entire like presentation process will look like too, because the presentation itself will still happen, but the questions and some of that will be evolving based off of what this new switch to 6 is. Again, I think going into this, I can't tell you everything right now because not everything's been sorted out. But again, it is kind of a little bit of a act of trust. But just know that we have put a lot of thought and intention behind it. Even as of this week, we've met multiple times. We are getting there. The reason I can't share everything with you right now and be like, hey, do you want to sign up, is because it's still literally being developed. We're getting everything ready to be able to share that with the people who are opting in, and all the training materials and stuff. I mean, honestly, it hasn't all been finalized yet. Our deadline to have everything 100% said and done is the end of this year, because we know that we're going to have to roll it out to everybody beginning January 16th next year. So we're still working on a lot of these things and working hard on them. But again, I encourage you, if you think this is something you might be interested in, please consider signing up. Are there any questions that I could answer before moving on? No. All right. So now to the really exciting news. It's funny because the team was talking before everybody hopped on today, and for a couple years now, we have had something going on that we haven't been in a position to talk about and we've wanted to do, but haven't always had the funding. And so again, when we talk to you guys about like long-term planning and goals and prioritizing and things that you want to do in that long-term vision, not only are we preaching it, but we're also living it ourselves, right? And so I'm excited to announce that the paperwork has been signed, the contracts are official, and we have worked with the Texas Main Street program. And we are licensing something that they developed. It's called Downtown TX. And I'm going to show you, well, I'm not going to show you, Elizabeth's going to show you in a few minutes what this is. And it is this incredible website that they developed several years ago and have built up over, I would say, the past, 4 or 5 years, Elizabeth?
Like a little bit longer, probably like 6-ish,
there we go.
6, 7.
Yeah.
From
I remember when the first
beta.
iteration came out, and now they're on like multiple phases later. But it is this incredible tool that they created to help catalog properties, businesses, like to basically be a repository for historic resource surveys, but also an incredible resource to market available properties downtown, to be able to keep a business building inventory, to be able to show what incentives and resources, a marketing tool and a preservation tool all wrapped into one. And from what I've seen in the country, there is nothing else like this. And this whole conversation started a couple years ago with Texas, and started with like, hey, would you consider working with us to license something like this? And they were 100% on board, but I will tell you guys, we had no idea how we were going to fund this. And so it's been like kind of one of those priorities of things we would love to do, but we've been trying to figure out how to put all the pieces together. And a year ago, literally a year ago, we did a pitch to DCA and working with another office to figure out how we could fund this. And we have come up with a funding plan. The whole thing will be funded. It'll be rolled out in phases because it is a lot. And it's going to happen. I mean, it's like literally the contracts have been signed, and we have been wanting to talk about this now for months, years at this point, but haven't been able to like officially do it. And so it is so exciting to be here at this point in the process, and to also be able to show you the bigger picture, because this is why our team has been expanding. This is partially why we brought on Ellen's position and have done this transition with Elizabeth. And for everybody who's like, what's Elizabeth going to be doing? You're giving a lot of this to Ellen. Like, where's Elizabeth going? This is going to be a huge piece of what Elizabeth will be doing in the future. We just couldn't talk about it yet, right? Because everything wasn't 100% done. And so it's exciting for us to now be able to talk about that, to be able to show you guys what is going to be her baby, and what she is going to be helping you guys do moving forward. So with all that being said, Elizabeth, I'm going to turn it over to you. So again, seeing is believing, and this is one of those projects that I think being able to see the front end and the back end really just is like incredible, and will get you guys as excited about it as we've been. So with that being said, Elizabeth, I'm just going to turn it over to you, let you do your thing.
Yeah. Well, yes, we are very excited. The first time I ever saw this, I was like, we need this. Georgia needs this. Tara and I were a little rabid about it. And Jessica had heard about it before, and Tara and I were like, no, that we need to take this seriously. We did an internal work plan and was like, this is one of our top priorities we want to achieve. We don't know how we're going to achieve it, but we need to start talking about it. So we don't prioritize it like we always preach to y'all. If the opportunity comes, we won't be ready, and we'll just kind of be in the back burner. So this is something, and we had it on a 5-year plan. And this was 2 years ago when we first, the first conversation I had with Texas about it, and then did the official pitch of like, hey, maybe this could be a funding mechanism. The process of standing it up is probably going to take about a year. We will have some beta community opportunities, just so that we can, make sure we understand the full functionality, uploading communities, because there is a front end and a back end. So you will have a portal, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can kind of show you some of the front end and the really, really exciting things about it, and why the moment I saw it, I was like, we need this for our communities. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see this? Okay. So this is Downtown TX. One of the neatest things about this is the splash pad, or this is the splash page. So if somebody, like our beta title is Downtown GA, real original, I know, but easy to find, easy to remember. So if anybody comes, if it's somebody coming from out of state, if it's a community member, if it's a developer that's just like, hey, I want a building in a cute little downtown, I wish there was a database for this. This is a database for this. And so they can literally come to this page. I want a building to buy in historic downtown Texas. Go. And my computer's been a little bit slow. It pulls up profiles of all the communities that have uploaded data here. And you'll see Alpine, this many buildings, 3 for sale, 1 building available for lease, 13 available, incentives available. Everybody has this. And then if you click into it, find your place in Alpine. And you're like, you know what? I'm looking for a building to buy. It has that right there. It's like, well, actually, I need a lease. I'm not really ready for buy. That's a little bit too rich for my blood. It has the leasing available. You can come to this map. This isn't the best example. 1 second. Corsicana, downtown boundaries. They have a local historic district. They have a national register district. You can unclick those to see what you might be eligible for. They have details on what incentives they have, both local and at national and state levels. A little bit of community highlights. They have a little picture reel you can upload. So this is like your little community profile. And so I love it. And then it's like, well, you know what? Corsicana doesn't have quite what I want. So let's just see. I've heard good things about Alpine again. So let's go over there. And then a place for my business. Okay, cool. Yeah, this looks great. And so you can click on this, view details. has property photos. Now, all this is something that that's where my big time commitment is, will be helping communities with, is getting this information in a format that can be uploaded to this and be a resource. Y'all will be in charge of updating kind of the buildings for sale, buildings for lease, all that type of stuff. But it is a huge resource. And so each one of these has its own little profile for a building if it's available, even if it's not for sale or for lease. If it's just an inventory building, you'll have that. On the back end, so this is sort of our administration screen. So we can kind of see what everybody's doing. But just to kind of give you a peek behind the curtain, this is what, let's see. So this is sort of what the back end looks like of entering information. So you have community basics, links, images, files, all this different type of stuff. Manage properties. So here's your property database, add a new property. You can export all this information into Excel. You can do them individually. You can, again, filter. It's like, hey, so I'm kind of curious what my current buys are, and then print that list if somebody comes in your door and you have that available to them. But a really, really cool functionality of this, which is another reason my little dorky heart went pitter patter as the little baby preservationist in me. This has the functionality to be a mobile survey. So everybody that freaks out about, historic resource surveys, this literally has, let me find the better page to show this. It has a survey component where literally when you pull it up, it has the,
and we've been working with our folks at DCA. If you're not familiar, the Historic Preservation Office actually moved from the Department of Natural Resources over to DCA about, now it's coming up on 2 years ago. It happened during the pandemic. And so we have been working with our certified local government folks and folks within the preservation office on this project as well. So they have been pulled in. People may be familiar with Nargis, one of the websites that they have for doing resource surveys. It's all, I'm not here to hate on Nargis or anything like that, but as far as like usability and functionality, sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging. And so we have been working with our preservation folks on this so that they are aware of what this is, so that we're working together. We can figure out how this helps both them as an office, us as an office, and you as an individual, and how we can kind of maximize the abilities that this website, holds for everybody.
And I was going to get to that. And so when you enter new property, this is sort of the dashboard. You'll see all this information, property basics, everything we're kind of used to, tax information, zoning and land use. This is, that information that you can include. So sorry, I'm trying not to make people like seasick. I know I can rapid scroll. Availability. This is where you do that for sale, for lease, all that information, historic designations. And this is where it kind of comes up and helps populate that, images and files. But this is the really cool thing. So this historic survey. So previously, if you wanted to try to do a historic resource survey, you typically brought in a consultant. They did it. They would be like, if they have a mobile version, that's fine. A lot of times they would still do paper surveys. And so you're not only paying them to come and fill out a survey, but then do the data entry into their format, into Nargis, to do all this type of stuff. So that's one of the things we've really been trying to dig into with the Historic Preservation Division. And this is broad strokes. There are no promises here. This is just some of the conversation we've been trying to figure out how this functionality will help communities let survey be more accessible, to help cut down the cost of that big thing to become a CLG or to main CLG status, and also to have an online resource for y'all too. And so there's a tab for Historic Resource Survey. All of these follow the National Register survey form that is that's kind of like the standardized thing. And so you literally could have your phone, you could have a tablet, you can walk around and be like, hey, I'm going to do like 2 buildings today. Let's just fill those out real quick, snap a picture, slowly build that database of those resource surveys. And then at that point, you would possibly hire, this is where it's kind of fiddly, because there will still be a component of needing somebody that fits like the historic preservation professional framework to sort of review these things, to review the data. But that automatically cuts out a huge step of that cost for resource surveys or to update resource surveys. Plus it's mobile. You don't have to build something out yourself. It's not clunky. It automatically feeds the database that is your property database to market to the entire state and not even the entire state, United States, anybody that comes to the website looking, hey, it's like, I want a cute building in downtown Georgia. What do they have available? One-stop shop. Like, I can't being from when I was manager in Washington, Georgia, this is something that I would have dreamed about, because being able to get in front of developers that are looking for historic properties at various price points and for different opportunities, there was no kind of depository for that information. And I know that we all have different pain points locally, but our local real estate agents didn't believe in MLS. So unless you lived in Washington, Georgia, and knew the exact person to call, you wouldn't be able to find any properties that are available because they are not on larger databases. So this helps combat some of those pain points of small towns and larger cities for those kind of getting in front of. We have all this locate Georgia for big industrial places, but they're really not built out for small downtown buildings. People that are looking for that don't know about those resources, or it's not quite the right fit. This is what we're hoping is kind of like the Locate Georgia for downtowns, and to be a huge resource for all the downtowns in the state. And so again, I want to go back to this main screen. Building to buy space for my business, just in general Texas. It's okay, cool. Again, it goes to the bigger splash pad of all these. It has a map. You can zoom in on the map of what you think will, be a good fit. It's I kind of want this area. What's this town? Oh, Corsicana, I've heard things about that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, cool. Yeah. What incentives do they have available? Oh, that's nice. Median income. That seems like a good spot for me. I just can't. I told Jessica I would control my inner chihuahua. I'm doing my best. But I know when I was local manager, this would have been just all the things to me, especially in a smaller town. So we've kind of talked about, we've alluded to all of my GDA folks, every single meeting, we're we have really something exciting, and just knowing this is coming, plus all the things GDA is working on behind the scenes that we're helping with any way we can. It's just a really cool time to be in downtown revitalization, development, whatever you want to call it, Main Street, in the state of Georgia. There are so many resources coming down the pike to really, it's an amazing time. So we're really excited to finally kind of breathe this out into the wild. Again, it's still going to be probably about a year before we start 100% onboarding communities into this format. Because they have to actually build the site. We literally just signed the paperwork. So they have to, build the Georgia specific site, and some of those back end things. We need to develop things. We're going to, like I said, have some beta communities. But we're really, really excited that it is happening. It's on the horizon, and we just couldn't contain our excitement anymore. And now that the dotted line has been signed, we finally were able to announce it to the world. So, I hope you're as excited as we are and see that the resource that it will be for all of y'all. So yeah, and I'm very excited to be the project manager on this. So yeah, all the people that called me when we announced the position we were hiring for, and we're you're not going anywhere, are you? I'm not. This is my baby. I just haven't been able to talk about it. So yeah, so I'm very, very excited.
Yep. And I dropped the link for Downtown TX in the chat if you wanted, obviously I encourage y'all to check it out, to look at it. But just so while it'll be a year-ish, we're hoping for a little bit less, obviously, but a year-ish for it to be ready to launch. This is not something that we're just going to wait a year to talk about, because we want to do everything possible to help get everybody ready for it. So that way, again, you saw the import abilities, being able to upload stuff, so we really want, to be able to help people prepare on the front end. And we know that getting things on the site will be a heavier lift than maintaining them, right? Because some of it is, some of the biggest lift is just putting the data and the information in there, right? Because once it's in there, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can make it available for sale, you can say it's, sold, you can add it to listings and move it around. The biggest lift is going to be on the front end. But we know what an incredible resource this is. We tell you guys to, always use the leverage of the businesses that you have to work with, right? The sheer number. And so we're trying to do the exact same thing. Let's leverage the impact that we have nationwide. We've got a $1.2 billion impact economically. We are preservation-based economic development. We really want to walk the walk and talk the talk. And we believe that this is an incredible resource to help empower you guys to do that. And so that's, this is something that's been, again, several years in the making, but we are so excited to be at the point where we can share it with you, or that we can talk about it. And again, it's also something that we will continue part of that discussion, because even Elizabeth and I today, when we're talking about the switch to 6 and how those new standards and stuff like that, we have also been thinking about, okay, how do we prepare people now for this as well and incorporate that into part of the process? Again, we are all about wanting to work smarter, not harder, so again, wanting to be able to empower you guys we know that you're going to need help to do this, right? And so that's also where we're thinking about what kind of contract employees are we going to have to bring on? What kind of part-time support are we going to have to bring on? How do we, help get you guys ready for this? What kind of volunteer, support does that look like, for you guys? And again, we just know that for some communities, doing something like this on your own would be incredible, but for the majority of our communities, doing something like this on your own would not be feasible or possible. And then you also have the challenge of trying to market yourself amongst everybody out there. So we're using the buying power of the masses of what is Georgia Main Street and our downtown network to be able to elevate it to a new level. And so, while we're going to be helping you guys figure out how to tell your story, how to have good photos, how to really help maximize your impact on the site, we also will be advertising it and putting it out there on all different platforms and places as well to help market it, and drive people to the site to be able to come to your communities, and that's where some of those Georgia specific incentives and things come into play. And you saw on the back end, the national, the local, and the state level. And, that's the cool part, is it will be branded to Georgia. It will be branded to the incentives that we all have to offer, and really trying to think about how do we tap into this stuff. So yeah, I'm excited. As you can tell, Elizabeth is excited. We hope that y'all will be as excited about this. I assume, yeah, Kathy, I assume our website will be downtownga.org. I noticed earlier I tried to type in .com for downtowntx.com and didn't come up. And me being me, I'm already okay, we're going to have downtownga.com and .org, even if it all points to one place, because I'm a fixer. I'm I want to get us to the right place. Elizabeth, are you about to tell me why I can't do that?
No.
Okay.
But you don't know this, but I know this.
Okay.
So those particular domains are not available because as soon as Tara and I found out about this, Tara bought them so that we could make sure that they didn't get bought before we wanted to use. That's how dreamer-ish we were of this is happening and nobody is going to stop us. Yeah. So they're not available, but I know a person. So.
And she will sell it to us for $1 million.
No, she gets the cause. No, but we're really, really excited. And some of the things that we are rolling out with the new standards, there's going to be some Dropbox stuff that's changing for the better, trust me, on all cases, a lot clearer. But there's going to be a folder that says Downtown GA, and it's going to have some internal folders of things that it will, number one, behoove you to just have records of in general, but it's going to be that information that's going to be important to have on hand when we are ready to start building your profile. So there's going to be a specific, Excel spreadsheet for the inventory, information on your ordinances, incentives, local districts, like whether it's a local historic district, you have a national registered district, individual listings, all that type of stuff. There's going to be a specific folder that has a lot of other folders in there. That's going to be the type of information that we're going to need or would like to have ideally to get you up and running as efficiently as possible. And so, yeah. And so we're working on some of the pre-work. So even though it might be a year until this is live, we know that there's things you can do in the interim, even if you like go in and you try to do like 3 properties a week or something like that at an Excel spreadsheet or one, that can help be starting to build you. So when we do have it ready, all you have to do is upload that Excel spreadsheet. It automatically auto-populates the profiles, and then you just kind of plug and play some of the other information. So we're trying to do as much like pre-work and give you pre-work. And then there's been some questions. Yes, it will be your sort of responsibility to enter in a lot of information, but I will be there to help. That's kind of my role too. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like because we haven't done it yet. So we will know what the reality is once we get closer. And it will be sort of like you'll be beholden to update it. So it is one of those tools that you're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. But I hope that you all see the value and to really update it. And even those of you that have, if you have websites, this gives you an ability to link to like you can link to the specific profiles of the buildings. You can do slick sheets. Like if the building is available, there's a print format that it's like, hey, I'm going to print out this one particular building as a slick sheet so I can give it to people. And again, some of those other functionalities. If you don't have a website, if it's just, you just have like a landing page on your city website, this is a database to link to. That's so exciting. I've heard so many of you guys want. So yeah, again, raining in the Chihuahua. But I'm just so excited to help the process, help y'all bring this into the world for Georgia. And I'm so excited.
I saw 2 really good questions. Will this be available only to accredited Main Street communities? The answer is no. It will be available to anybody with a historic downtown in the state. Now, I will tell you that we have funding for 5 years, right, to sort us out. But there is sustained cost, right, with licensing agreements and keeping the site up and running and stuff like that. So at some point, there's going to have to be some kind of pay to play function. We are figuring that out, right? Like we know we're good for several years, enough for everybody to get up and running. And we're trying to figure out what that looks like. I mean, ideally, I would like this to be something that if you are an accredited program, you just have access to. I mean, that would be, ideal in my mind, right? That as part of you being accredited and all the hard work that you do, this is something you have access to, free access to. Like in my mind, that would be the best case scenario. And then other people who want to, who may have not gone through that fully accredited route and stuff, there would be, a pay to play kind of component to it, right? But this is, a way of, you have invested in you and we're investing in you. As far as being required to use it, as of right now, I can just say off the cuff right now that I would like to not have to require it, but I would love people to want to do it. So, I do feel like it kind of loses a little bit of the sparkle when I'm like, you have to do this, instead, I want it to be something that people want to do because we see the value in it, right? That we see the maximized buying power that can come out of everybody participating in something like this. So, again, I can't speak to the future because, we are literally building it and figuring out all the little details as we come. This is where I stand from like my personal, thought process right now. Things could change in the future, but that's where I'm at. I would say too, one of the things that Elizabeth and Ellen and I have been talking about extensively lately is the idea of building inventories, right? National is really big on that. We have put so much emphasis, guys, on organizational development and transformation strategies. And I will say that when we talk to other states, we lead when it comes to like these things like work plan development, incorporation of transformation strategies, teaching these things. But that's also because we put a huge emphasis on it, right, in the past couple of years, right? So it makes sense as to why we are really leading the pack when it comes to this. One of the things we haven't put emphasis on is something like this, building inventory, data sets, information. And part of that is because I'm like, if I'm going to ask you and require you to do something, I need to have a resource and a tool for you to do it, right? And so that's been part of that conversation. So, my thing is that there is importance and value in having a property database that you can access to be able to say, this is what we have. This is what's available. This is our breakdown of services versus professional versus retail versus restaurants, and that sort of thing. So I can see us putting more emphasis on that in the future. But again, I think personally, I would like it to be in the realm of, this is a tool you want to use because you see so much value in it, not because Jessica or Elizabeth or Ellen or Ebony or anybody's requiring you to do it, but because we have built in value to the system itself. So nothing's off the table, but again, that's not our desire or really the intention behind it.
And another cool thing I forgot to mention is a lot of us do have, different districts and different things within our downtowns. And sometimes keeping those boundaries straight or even knowing what the boundaries are, sometimes they're just written out. You don't really have a great map, all that type of stuff. One of the things that the profile allows you, but it's like is important, is you can actually draw a parallelogram of the boundaries of each of those different things and their layers. And so you can turn them on and off. So that's a resource too, of when you're communicating to people. It's like, well, here's your zoning, this is what's allowable in this light shaded area. Oh, and you're also in our local historic district. So then you'll have to go, it is that one-stop shop for even you to see okay, well, we're talking about this property. I think it's applying to all these things, but it's that resource that you can pull it up and show people too, to where you don't have to pull out 15 different maps to explain something. You can literally pull up your page for downtown GA and you'll have all those boundaries on there if they're drawn, if you decide to draw them on there. So again, there's just so many different little pieces that, at first it's like, okay, yeah, it looks cool. But when you start really thinking about some of those functionalities and how it will improve your day-to-day, and you're communicating, some of those realities of your downtown and your properties, wow, love it.
Yep. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to be at this point. Elizabeth and I are going to have to hop off, unfortunately. I know, but again, check it out on your own time. We are happy to be able to be talking about this and to be able to continue this conversation now moving forward. Our team will be at the conference. We're excited about our 101. Ellen and Ebony and Tess will stick around after Elizabeth and I hop off. If you have any Main Street related questions, if y'all have anything cool that's happening in your communities that you want to share, please take a few minutes to do that. It's really important that we celebrate the victories and the good things that are happening in our lives, both personally and professionally. So I encourage y'all to do that. And thank you guys for being here today. This is being recorded. We will upload it if you want to share it and be able to show it to other folks. So all right.